Good morning, everybody. My name is Tish, and I'm from Anima Viva. And today I have the great honor and privilege to be in conversation with my dear sister, Mareesa, who I've met here in Costa Rica very serendipitously through a beautiful gathering of humans. And throughout our time together, we've got to really drop in and connect and learn from each other. And I hold so much love and respect for this woman. I would love for you, Mareesa, just to come on and maybe just share a short little introduction to those people that's out there listening so that we can have a little bit of a feel of who you are and how you show up in the world.
Thank you, Tish. Thank you for having me here. It's such a delight to be sharing on. There we go. It's back.
Amazing. So, yeah, I'd love to just learn a little bit more about you. If you can give us a little brief introduction, that'd be lovely.
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. Such a delight to be here. My name is Mareesa Stertz. I'm a filmmaker, a storyteller. I'm a steward and a co-founder of the Global Psychedelic Society. I um, I am an immersive artist, and yeah, you might have seen some of my work on Gaia TV. I have a series called The Healing Powers of Psychedelics and Other Mindful Practices. And yeah, I am a woman of many trades, and I have actually a long list. I feel like it's a good place to stop.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And I have to say, I have tuned into your series on Gaia and felt very inspired. Um,
Mhm.
and it's just such an honor, for me to have people and women like yourself in our network that I really can confess and say that we are paving this way. We're paving a new way of feminine leadership. And so the series, She Leads is really about highlighting women and how they're showing up, in the way to lead as a feminine leader and really speaking to what ethical leadership mean to us. So I'm curious for you, how does it show up? I'm curious what it means to you and how you embody these values of ethical leadership in today's age.
Hmm. Ethical leadership. I mean, I think it really shows up in the sisters around me. And I think not only sisters, but for me, my first real keying into, ooh, I want to show up like that was by having it role modeled by other women that were first being very vulnerable and sharing themselves with me and showing me how to move through hard things. And I mean, to zoom out, I think, it means no, to show up as a leader in integrity and ethics in an ethical way, is to be in your center,
Mm.
to know who you are, to know a little bit about your blind spots and how to preemptively hold them. And, I would add that showing up in a way that really empowers others to step into their power feels like a key part of good leadership.
Mhm. I love that. It's said that we can, I can show you who you are if you show me who your inner circle is, and I think at least in my experience, su surrounding ourselves with women that holds these values of ethical leadership and leading in the feminine way really spills over into our inner circle and our inner lives, and support us and inspire us on how to lead. And we get to learn from one another because it's almost like, we're learning these new ways. And I would say, instead of saying learning, we're remembering how to
Mhm.
lead in these matriarchal ways.
Mhm.
Let's talk a little bit about your journey. I'm curious if you can share like a pivotal moment in your professional or your personal life that really shaped the way in which you lead today.
Pivotal moment. I think from childhood, I always had a desire um, to kind of make things happen, and it really came online in high school theater when I was a kid, and I was recognizing that the director of the plays I was in, that they were missing really awesome opportunities to guide things in a good way. And I was like, wait a minute, I have ideas. I want to do that. And so I think it began with that, but I think it wasn't that, I ran that leadership program in a way, but I was very much ran by a lot of unconscious limiting beliefs that I'm not good enough. And so the pivotal moment that I maybe really stepped into real leadership would be, that's a big question. I like it. But I'm like, which one of those aha moments? I think it really happened, and it really, me stepping into my power really happened on the floor of a yoga mat after like 3 months of going into being a hermit. I was in Costa Rica and I was like, I need to remove myself from everything and really get to the bottom of where I'm coming from and how I'm operating. And in that time, I realized I was still wanting something outside of me to save me.
Mm.
And I was lying on the yoga mat feeling dejected and lost and hopeless because like I had felt like rejected by some breakup and by a few other things. And I realized I was waiting for somebody to come fix it for me and that nobody else can do that. And that I really have to be the one who comes and saves myself. And I think that was the hugest shifting point in my life. And from there on, I took like radical responsibility to clean up the messes that maybe I hadn't always created, but that, we all get to be responsible for. Yeah.
I love that. And this kind of like segues beautifully into this piece that I want to speak to about feminine leadership. I'm curious, what are your core values as a feminine leader in today's age? And how do they shape the way that you lead with your intuitive powers?
Hmm. So it's funny. I did some of my homework. I knew this question was coming, and it was a while ago. So I want to see what just comes up and flows. My core values. I mean, my personal ones are to come from ev to everything I do with a space of joy and a regenerative energy. And that's an aspirational one. It's not always achieved. I really, this is a work in progress here. Um, yeah. And creativity, creativity being like the driving force. I think I have a big urge to make things. And so as long as I am making, I am playing, I am doing it in a way that is regenerative, and that I am authentically expressing myself. These are key pieces that really help me flourish.
Mm.
And there's a part where I'm like, oh, should I be naming integrity and all these other key pieces? But I have been blessed with my environment always having very honest people around me. And so that has never been an issue for me. I almost like wear my heart on my sleeve. Um, and so I don't list that one. But it's embedded in the like deeper list. It's just not the aspirational place because I feel really comfortable with it.
I love what you shared, and really this piece about regenerative as well. And the kind of like ties into this curiosity that I have is like, how do you balance, your well-being with your work? How do you find that space inside of you where you get to be creative, where you get to play, you get to create, and at the same time nurture yourself and find that sweet balance? How do you navigate that in the world?
This has been some of my deepest work right here. Very much. So I've often ran myself into the ground looking to save the world, also to prove myself, right? Um, and it has ran me bare. And in many of my journeys, it keeps coming up of to step into your queendom,
Mm.
step into your power, and the dedication that I put towards all of my projects, that if I were actually to put that towards myself and be in devotion to my own joy and that regenerative energy, that all the projects would actually do much better. And so it has caused this shift that this is a big year where I feel that I'm actually able to really commit to it, of not only having a daily practice of, moving my body, connecting, breathing, meditating, and doing that at least a half hour every day, if not 45 minutes, at the beginning, but also playing music and singing daily, really creating extra space for that, noticing the moment I'm on my computer and doing things that I'm starting to feel that crunch, that I need to break that crunch is and like very important information and go do something that brings me joy. And so it's been music playing, and then I have a little dog that I actually imported from Costa Rica. Um, his name is Wolfie. He's the most magical being. And so with him, he will actually look at me when I'm sitting too long on my computer and suddenly he'll start going, oh, 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 oh. And I'm like, oh, we need to go for a walk, huh? So a run. So I've been running. And then lastly, it's dance. I'm a huge fan of dancing. And there's a from 15 minutes from my house is the Oakland Suites Ballroom, and they do ecstatic dance multiple times a week. And so I danced my heart out with some really skilled dancers, and it's been so delightful.
I love that for you. Yes, yes to all those beautiful things. And I can so relate to our little earth angel puppies that can like just give us that little like, oof, like, okay, it's time to move your body. It's time to get off the computer and listening to those subtle nudges, of just like, okay, yeah, I need to just go and put my feet on the earth for 5 more minutes and just ground in.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
want
and nature. Thank you for naming nature. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely, such a beautiful regulator. And for me, just, yeah, I feel like nature for me is my refuge. I went this morning and it's really tender times, I feel, for all of us around the world, and just went and sat by the river and just sang and cried and do all the things. And I came back and I was like, wow, it just feels so much lighter. And it was literally like took 30 minutes of my day. So deeply grateful that we get to be in environments where we can be nourished by nature in such a beautiful way. I'm curious, like within the scope of your work, how does the work that you offer to the world support women in their sense of belonging, their sense of sisterhood and mothership and queendom? How can what you teach and how you lead inspire other women?
Mm, beautiful framing. Beautiful question. Yeah. Um, so Gabor Mate, he's for those who are not familiar, famous therapist who was a psychologist who was one of the first to work with ayahuasca. He speaks of humanity having two essential needs. The first one is safety, obviously, like physical safety. The other one is authentic expression, to be authentically seen and recognized. And um, what I'm witnessing around me is that people are not empowered to step into their best selves, to shine their light brightest, unless they are getting examples of what that looks like, that it's okay to share their authentic selves. And so the work I'm doing is very much focused around story as our key modality. And saying I'm aiming to create a culture that celebrates the healing journey and celebrates authentic expression, celebrates naming the hard things we're going through and what it looks like to overcome them. I believe every one of us has wisdom, and that wisdom is literally being able to articulate what's the journey you're on and what are you learning through this particular transformation. I spent much of my life very shy. And I thought some people are just not meant to speak. I would like start a sentence and then just stop halfway through and be like, oh, what I had to say didn't matter. Nobody wanted to hear it anyway. And I was just trying to convince myself that that's the way it was. And of course, it was other people showing me, role modeling for me, like, no, you have something. I want to hear it. And here's what it looks like to speak in an empowered way. And then I began to shift that. And clearly, I don't have any problems speaking in public now, or I have a series where I'm doing drugs on TV, medicines. And so yeah, for me, I think creating spaces. I have actually a new offering that's called Story Catharsis. Actually, I'm going to be offering a free workshop um, coming up. What is the date? January 22nd in the evening, where I'm inviting people to join and experience the gift of first framing their story and their transformations they're going through and their wisdom and sharing it with each other. So it starts with that, but there's the deeper power of story to actually help us identify the old unconscious programs, limiting beliefs, conditioning we've received from our caregivers, religion, society, culture, to recognize what those are and start to unwind those and also identify where do we want to go? What is our highest aspiration and our greatest joy? And how can we write a story that articulates this new map and that we can really step into it?
Mm, I love that. So for someone who's never done any kind of like unpacking of our story and has a limiting belief of like, I'm not good enough to speak in public, or, my voice isn't welcome here. What are some of the tools or practices that you can share with us? Simple, maybe one or two tools that we can start to learn how to express ourselves and share our story, or what does that even look like?
Great question. Yeah, I think it first starts with our relationship to ourselves. And I would really say that if you don't feel that your voice is welcome, and that you don't feel like you don't belong, I would invite you to question the idea that maybe you're just around the wrong people, and that there are people who want to hear your voice, who want to see who you are, that exists, and it begins with you cultivating that relationship for yourself and starting to notice how often do you shut yourself down. How often is it your own internal voice telling you, "Oh, no, 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 you don't have something worth saying," and connecting to that in your body and being with it and holding it gently and saying, "I know you're trying to protect me, but but let's experiment a little." And starting to, step by step, first internally, be your own cheerleader and see how that starts to reflect in your outside world. And then also find different people to start sharing your voice. And I
Mm,
think there's like little baby steps. There's so much around this. I feel like, I often say with story work that it's not just about our thoughts around our story. It's a lot about what's happening in your body because our we are often not empowered to use our voice in a potent way if our whole physical system from childhood trauma, ancestral trauma, whatever was going on, taught us it's not safe. So your whole body might be like, "Oh my God, I have full anxiety. There's no way I could even open that up." So I think a lot of story work first starts in by connecting to where does it exist in your body and learning to hold that anxiety with love and compassion and kind of presencing it and just knowing that it's not a inherently bad thing, but it is something that you will learn from. It's a teacher and to be with that. And then through that process, you can start to become more connected to your voice and be able to articulate things that feel good to you and resonate with what you want to say, because there's often a disconnect there too, when your body's not aligned.
mm. Yeah, I can so relate to this. I feel for me and opening up my voice and sharing truth, there was a direct correlation to shutting down from my womb and my heart. So even if I spoke, it was like almost with a very like a tone that was very low, for instance. But once I connected with my heart and I connected with the sensations in my womb and my body, my voice was opening up, open to sing and open to share more from. I can even hear it when truth really comes out. There's even like a little slight change in the tone. And it's so beautiful to witness the more that we practice that it's safe for us to speak, that it's safe for us to sing, that it's safe for us to express ourselves. And so, yeah, I really love that we can start with just speaking and sharing and writing. What is there
Mm,
for us? I feel there's a lot of times where I would have a story about, do a little bit of mapping of my life, and as I'm writing or as I'm speaking, just even recording myself, that there's more information that would surface that I forgotten about. you know. I think this is really beautiful too for any kind of like medicine work integration is just to speak it, to write it, to share it, even if it's just on a voice note where we can really listen in to the subtleties that wants to come through without even knowing, you know, where those truth bombs and those wisdom drops can fall into the field for us to learn from. I'm curious, what is your vision for the future? In your view, what does the world need most right now? And how can we create a brighter and a more harmonious future for humanity?
In its core essence, tell your story, right? I feel like um I'm for me, part of my journey is not having healthy stories, having a lot of pain because of it and feeling very stuck for a long time. And then going through a transformative journey, working a lot with psychedelics, Kundalini yoga, nature, solitude, all sorts of things. And the message through all that was help the world tell their stories. Let's create a culture that celebrates healing. Let's normalize what it looks like to be in the healing process. Not to like belabor that trauma exists, but rather to help shine the light on what the road looks like so that we can walk each other home.
Mm,
Um, I have a couple of projects that I'm working on. I have been documenting my own journey working with psychedelics, identifying what trauma is, little t traumas, big T traumas. And I'm aiming actually to call in Gabor Mate. So if anyone listening knows him and would like to get him to connect us, that would be amazing. But yeah, I've been documenting my journey of like when I didn't know what trauma was and how psychedelics helped me become aware of it. So through the journeys, to another side, which feels like, okay, I'm no longer running these old programs. Um, so feature film is one of my projects that is doing this. And as you see in my background here, uh, I am, if you're familiar with the film The Never Ending Story, it's a beloved film of the 80s. There's two sphinxes in my background for anyone who's just listening in. The sphinxes, we're bringing the sphinxes from The Never Ending Story to Burning Man, as the sphinxes can look into your heart and see if you know your own true worth. We believe it's a trick question. We believe we're all inherently worthy. It's just we've inherited these stories that we're not. And that the gifts of the mind, body, heart, spirit, community, um, uh, breath are here to help guide us to connect into our wisdom. And so we're actually creating an immersive, interactive art experience designed to help people connect to the wisdom of those elements and that they bring it to the sphinxes. Sphinxes will open their eyes and shoot lasers. It's a big dramatic thing. We're thinking like 40 to 50 feet tall. And I've been working on this for 5 years, like very quietly on the back burner. And this is the year that it's coming to Burning Man. So, yeah, my vision is to create a culture that celebrates healing, to create a movement that finds the game and the quest in it. Because for me, even though it was hard and even though it was difficult, it was also an extraordinary adventure. And I really want to help people see it through that so that it becomes something easier to embark on.
I love that. And I'm so excited that this project you've been working on for the last 5 years, you know, you're finally taking to the burn. That's super exciting. And I actually rewatched Never Ending Story recently, and I just love that movie so much. It's just such a, you know, as an 80s baby, I just feel so inspired when I watch that, you know. So I'm so happy that you're bringing the wisdom from the old days, you know, back into the present moment and have people remember our worth, remember that we are worthy and that we are enough just as we are. Nothing to change or add or accumulate or study more, that we are just worthy inherently, you know, by being ourselves. Um, I'm curious what other offerings you have that's coming up for people that want to tune in or, you know, you shared a little about your series on Gaia. If there's anywhere people can really tune in a little bit more to your work and see what you're all about and explore and learn from you, where would that be or what do you have coming up?
Yay, yeah, thanks. So as mentioned before, I'll have a free offering on January 22nd, where we do a little story catharsis. And on February 3rd, I'll be launching, we'll begin a 6-week program called Emerge. And the goal of this program is to really help people step into self-authorship and ownership of their story so that they are empowered to share that wisdom that I know that they hold. So that is a really beautiful place to plug in. Um, I also, if you're interested in getting involved in the Sphinx Gate project, it is a multidisciplinary project that we're also using to kind of a pilot project for something we're calling Muse, the Museum of Self-Exploration. And so our goal is to take all this energy and all the things we're learning and to continue it into something that really invites people on this journey of uplifting consciousness, becoming conscious of our unconscious stuff. And so if you want to plug into these projects, I my website is yourstoryiseverything.com. And you can find your way to also thesphinxgate.com. All of that is there. And also I would say follow me on Instagram. I actually think I don't even have a page for Free Story Catharsis, so I will put that up. But if you sign up for the newsletter on the website, you will I'll be sending out details about that soon. So
And we'll
just sign up
also
for the
be
news.
putting all of the links here for all the upcoming things on the, on the script here as well. And well, that's exciting. It sounds like you have a lot coming up in 2025. What a exciting year for you as you're stepping more into the balancing of nourishing, leadership and teaching and being of service to nourishment and being enough feminine. I'm curious if you could share one thing with women specifically about feminine leadership. What would that be?
Mm.
If you could leave us with a little truth bomb of what inspires you or could uplift someone or that is just really true for you, what would that be?
For me, my biggest insight has been that in order for me to step into more feminine, receptive, magnetic leadership that doesn't have to like run the show in my masculine, that I actually have to really work on my inner masculine, my healthy masculine in a better way so that the masculine inside of me can hold things so strongly that I run more smooth and am inviting more spaciousness. Does that make sense? It's almost like the inner masculine is my, in film world, they call it assistant director, the one who's kind of running the timelines, making sure things are getting taken care of. And I have had a very nebulous relationship with that inner masculine because I didn't have good role models for that initially. And so I think it's really worth naming that we need to cultivate this relationship with the inner masculine in order to give our feminine the safety and the spaciousness to be luscious and to receive and to be magnetic and to play.
Mm. Yes, 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 yes. I love that. I that's definitely something it's such a beautiful way to articulate it. I see when you were speaking, I was like seeing the inner masculine like being the container, to
Mhm.
hold all of the feminine and having that container like nourish that inner masculine in a way that it can then support the feminine to lead the way. I love that. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mareesa. I am so grateful that we got to share this conversation. I really pray for your life and for your work this year to just be so abundant and so nourishing for yourself and all those that you get to touch in the world. And really excited to see those Sphinx come to Burning Man and the magic that's going to come in the transformation and healing. So,
Thank
yeah, is
you.
there anything else that you want to share before we close?
No, I just want to thank you. I want to thank Anima Viva for having me. What a delight. And also wish you many blessings in Costa Rica. I hope to cross paths with you again soon. Yeah, such a treat to be here. Thanks everyone for listening.
Oh, yes. Thank you so much, everybody. And we look forward to the next live session for She Leads. Have a beautiful rest of your days. Mwah. Ciao.
Bye.